Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Francesco, and today I want to teach you something, if I could, starting with something not building code related. Did you know that hummingbirds can fly backwards? This will come in handy later on, I promise. So, with today's topic 5, what we're going to discuss is the requirements according to the Ontario Building Code for buildings. What requirements are necessary for buildings to prevent the spread of fire and the collapse of those buildings as a result of fire? This week, it is topic 5, so we're going to use 5 ingredients. We're going to be cooking again with 5 ingredients because I think it worked well the last time too. But before we proceed, I think we need to do a little bit of review. Do you remember the topic number 3? Where to start? That was the topic where we realized that the Ontario Building Code, both volumes of the compendium with over 3,000 pages, well, nobody knows where to start if they're new at the Ontario Building Code, and I showed you a way to do that by using these 3 ingredients. What we did in topic 3 to try to figure out where in the Ontario Building Code to start when we're ready to do the analysis of a building is all about learning how to distinguish between buildings that are either Part 3 buildings or Part 9 buildings. Remember that? Except for the exception related to agricultural buildings, but Part 3 versus Part 9. And the whole point of that was that we just focus on Part 9 buildings. That is, in trying to prove that the building that we're analyzing is a Part 9 building. If we can do that, then it's a Part 9 building, and that's where we go. Division B Part 9 is where we start. If we cannot do that, then it's a Part 3 building. Remember that? Should sound a little bit familiar. And the way this works is these 3 ingredients are set up like this. That is, building height, building area, and major occupancies have these requirements. The building height must be no more than 3 stories. The building area must be no more than 600 square meters, and the major occupancy of the building in question must be either a C, D, E, F2, or F3. All 3, see this and here? All 3 of these 3 conditions, of these 3 ingredients, if you want, must be satisfied for the building under consideration to be Part 9. If even one of them is not satisfied, it's not a Part 9 building. And just a reminder, these 3 ingredients and their requirements can be found under Division A, Article 1.3.3.3. Okay? So go back to topic 3 if this is not sounding super familiar. Okay? We even did an example or 2 or so, okay, when it came to that topic. Okay, for today, topic 5, we're cooking again. We're going to be using 5 ingredients. Topic 5 gives us 5 ingredients. These are the 5 ingredients we're going to be using. Notice how, just like in topic 3, where we use 3 ingredients, topic 5 has ingredients that are all definitions. Notice how they're written with a font that's italicized, that's at an angle, right? So that means that these terms are specifically defined by the Ontario Building Code under Article 1.4.1.2 in Division A. Today, okay, we're going to use these 5 ingredients to sift through these 73 articles, okay? This is what we're going to be doing with topic 5. These 5 ingredients are going to help us figure out which one of these 73 articles apply to the building we're analyzing so that we can figure out the requirements of that building to prevent the spread of fire and the collapse of that building due to fire. These 73 articles are in Division B, and they start at Article 3.2.2.20, and they go all the way up to and including Article 3.2.2.92. The way that they're arranged, and we'll look at this in a bit more detail, okay? I promise you. But the way that they're arranged is that the lower the article number, the more restrictive the requirements in the article are. The higher the article number, the least restrictive the requirements in that article are. Intrigued? How about I show you? Okay, I think that's probably the best way that we do this. So let me get us to the building code itself. Here I am, and I'm just going to zoom in to here. There we go. This should be visible to you now, just like that. Okay, so here is 3.2.2, and if we start looking at 3.2.2.20, the first of these articles that I'm saying that we're looking at, look at this. You see the article? You see the title of that article? Group A, Division 1. So from this article, 3.2.2.20, all the way to 3.2.292, all 73 of these articles will list the group and, if necessary, the division of the major occupancy. And then they'll have more words after it related to the height of the building, the area of the building, and sometimes whether or not it's sprinklered. Okay, so the title of the article itself gives you information of the content of that article. So now look at 21. It's still Group A, Division 1. 22 is still Group A, Division 1, and so on and so forth. Oh, look at this. At 23, it switched to Group A, Division 2. Okay? And so on and so forth until we reach, look at this, Article 29, where it switched from Group A, Division 3. And so on and so forth until we reach the last one of these articles, the 73rd one, 3.2.292, which is Group F, Division 3, or F3 for short. Okay? There we go. Let's come back to the main stage. There we are. Okay? So, each one of those 73 articles, you saw the title, right? But inside each one of those articles contain the construction requirements for that specific type of building with the requirements in the title of the article. And those requirements are based on the combustibility of the material used and the fire resistance rating of the assembly used and the material used. Now, you're probably looking at this sentence and you're going, wow, I can tell those are English words, but I have no idea what they mean. Well, that's okay. It's not you, okay? This is the whole point of this course, is to learn something about it. So how about I translate these two statements? The content of each article contain the construction requirements for that building that are based on how well the contents of that building burns, or the construction of that building burns. Okay, so whether or not you're using combustible or non-combustible material to build that building, the structure of that building, if you will. Okay, this here, what does that refer to? It refers to how long the material you use will withstand the passage of fire. So it's a measure of time. So what each one of those articles contain is whether or not you can use combustible or non-combustible material for that specific building according to these 5 ingredients, and the expected duration that the assembly, so the construction of that building, will resist the passage of fire to allow safe passage for people to get out or to allow rescue people to come in and save them. Okay? All right, I want to do something crazy. If you'll allow me, I want to do something crazy with you. Rather than going into details of these 5 ingredients, we'll do that in topic 6. I want to jump in and learn by doing. How about we do an example of using these 5 ingredients to figure out whether or not the building that we're analyzing needs to be combustible or non-combustible construction, and what the fire resistance rating is for, say, the floor and the roof for that building. So we're going to do this in 3 steps, if you're willing to take a chance on me and do it. Step number 1, we're going to identify the 5 ingredients based on the question. Okay, we're going to read the question and pick out the 5 ingredients from that question. Step number 2, then, we're going to use those 5 ingredients and the list of 73 articles that I gave you to identify the correct article. Number 3, we're going to come up with the answer to the question. Ready? Let's do this, okay? Let's call this example number 1. The way that this example is going to work is we're being asked to determine a building's level of fire safety for the floor and the roof assembly of that building. The building in question is a 6-story office building. The area for that building is 2,400 square meters. It is unsprinklered, and the building faces 2 streets. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use these 5 ingredients one at a time, and I'm going to go through the description of this building and fill in these 5 ingredients. We're told this building is an office building. Based on what we learned in topic 2, that makes it a D major occupancy. Based on what's written in this here, the building area is 2,400 square meters. The next one is building height. Do you remember how to figure out the building height? Based on the definition for building height, it's the number of stories. So in this case, 6 stories. The next one is the streets. That is, how many streets does the building face? It says 2 streets. So that's what I'm putting right there. The last one is whether or not the building is sprinklered or unsprinkled. That is, are there sprinklers or not in that building? No sprinklers. It says so in this question. So now we have the 5 ingredients we need. How about we now go and find the proper article out of the 73 related to this topic? Where in these 73 articles do we find the D major occupancies? Well, that's easy, right? You just go look for it. So we just step through it and we go look for it. They start at article 3.2.256 and they end including 3.2.265. But here's the thing, okay? Doing this is boring. You have to sift through 73 articles and find the ones that are related to the major occupancy for the building in question. If you're a business professional, if you're a professional at this, you know to do this and you do that. But if you're new at this, say if you're a student in this course or you're just starting to learn the Ontario Building Code, like I was getting at, that can be pretty boring, right? Like it's shown here, it's boring to do that. You have to do that. That's the short and the long of it, okay? You have to go and find all the articles that apply to it. Don't just take my word for it that it's from 56 to 65 for D major occupancies. It's possible that sometime in the future, when the new edition comes out of the Ontario Building Code, this list changes. You must go find in your latest version of the Ontario Building Code all the articles out of those 73 that are of this major occupancy. As I'm recording this, it goes from 56 to 65. So let's go find. Let's go look at this, okay? And that is where this little factoid is going to come in handy. Remember how we learned that hummingbirds can fly backwards? Well, that's handy for this topic because we also have to do the same when we're reviewing this range of Group D articles. We start from the last one and move backwards. We don't start from the first one. And that's because the last one is the least restrictive, whereas the first one is the most restrictive. Remember? So that's what we have to do. We actually have to start from the last one and go backwards, just like hummingbirds. So that's exactly what we are going to do. Okay? We're going to bring up our building code. We're going to zoom into it. And we're going to find the requirements related to the Group D major occupancies. 65, based on the version of the building code I'm looking at, is the last one for Group D major occupancies. We start backwards from 65. Group D up to 2 stories sprinklered. It does not apply to our building. Our building is 6 stories. So we go backwards. In our case, we move up. Okay? 64. Group D up to 2 stories. Still no good. Our building is 6 stories. How about 63? 3 stories. No good. Our building is still 6 stories. Okay, how about 62? Nope, still 3 stories. How about 61? Nope, 4 stories. Still not good enough. How about 60? I have a good feeling about 60. Here it is. Here's 60. 60, Group D up to 6 stories. Hey, that's good, right? But look at the next word. Sprinklered. See it right here? No good. Our building is not sprinklered. So we have to go and find something that's not sprinklered, because sprinklered is too restrictive. And just between you and me, it means also more expensive, right? So instead, we have to go to the next one. 59, Group D, up to 6 stories. Look at that, still says sprinklered. No good. Let's go to 58. 58, Group D, up to 6 stories. That's a maybe. This may work. So what do? We're going to read from top to bottom the whole content of this article to make sure it applies. Right? So we start at the beginning. Sentence number 1. A building classified as Group D is permitted to conform to sentence 2, right here at the below, as long as, so provided, A, it is not more than 6 stories in building height. Good, that's what we have. And it has a building area not more than the value in table 3.2.258. That's this table here. So we have to look at that table and make sure that our building conforms to the requirements of this table. So the way this table is set up, there's a whole bunch of columns. The leftmost column is the number of stories. So we find our building. Our building has 6 stories. And then we move to the right, this way, to find the correct number of streets. Our building faces 2 streets. So we're looking for this column. And then under that column, we see where the number of streets and the number of stories intersect, and it will give us an area right here, 3,000. This number cannot be less than the number of the area in our building. Another way to look at it is the area of our building cannot be more than this number. That's good. That's okay. Our building is 2,400 square meters. This says 3,000 is the largest number that we're allowed. Good news, it says that we can use the contents of this article. So all we've done in sentence 1 right here is just confirm that we can use the rest of this article to answer the question. And that's where this comes into play. Okay? Now we can go to sentence 2. Sentence 2 will contain our answer. The building referred to in sentence 1 shall be of non-combustible construction. And look at here. Clause A and Clause C contain the requirements for the floor assembly and the roof assembly. The floor assembly shall be a fire separation with fire resistance rating not less than 1 hour. The roof assembly under C, right here, shall have a fire resistance rating of not less than 1 hour. Okay? We have our answers. So let's come back to our question right here. We identify that the correct article out of all of this is 58. Group D up to 6 stories. And that's because we went inside sentence 1 to make sure that the conditions were met. Then in sentence 2, we found all the requirements to answer our questions related to construction requirements. So what we get is that the building has to conform to sentence 3.2.2.58.2 so that it shall be of non-combustible construction, and the floor assembly should be of fire resistance rating of 1 hour, and this is the reference. Okay, sentence division B, clause 3.2.2.58.2a, and the roof assembly shall be a fire resistance rating of 1 hour, and the reference for that is division B, clause 3.2.2.58.2c. Okay, so that's the answer for this. What we did is we did something crazy. We tried to solve a question by not even understanding what we're doing, just by trying. We tried to learn by doing this. I hope that was okay for you. If you're still feeling up to it, let's do a second example. In this second example, we're going to determine this building's level of fire safety for the roof and the floor assembly of this building. This building specifically is, let's see, it's an 850 meter squared unsprinklered 2-story department store building. It faces 2 streets. So what we're going to do again is we're going to list the 5 ingredients from the question itself, and I'm going to put them over here one at a time. The first one, major occupancy. It's a department store, so the major occupancy based on what we learned in topic 2 is E. The next one is building area. The question has the information about the building area. It's 850 meters squared. Building height, which the definition for it in the building code is the number of stories. Right here, 2 stories in building height. The next one is the number of streets that this building is facing. Right here, 2 streets. And the last one is whether or not this building is sprinklered or not. It says right here, the building is not sprinklered. So what we're going to do is we're going to use these 5 ingredients to find the correct articles out of these 73 that relate to E major occupancies. And remember, finding the articles out of all of these 73 that are only for E major occupancies is boring, but you have to do it. You must do so. Okay, because you have to find the most restrictive and the least restrictive of all these articles, right? I've done this for you based on the edition of the building code that I'm looking at right now, the 2024 first edition. The edition, the 2024, the articles are 3.2.266 all the way to 3.2.2.71. Okay, but you must check this. Don't take my word for it. Maybe your version of the Ontario Building Code is different. Okay, and what do we do with these 6 articles right here? We use what we learned about hummingbirds. What did we learn about hummingbirds? They fly backwards, and we have to do the same. We're going to start with the last one and work backwards. So let me bring that up for you right here. I'll zoom in to the code here like that. And right up here, we have Article 71, 3.2.271. Group E, up to 2 stories, sprinklered. Not good enough, right? This is the least restrictive we have, and it's not okay because our building is not sprinklered. So we have to go up to something more restrictive right here. Under Article 70, we have Group E up to 2 stories. So that's a maybe, right? That's a possibility. So if it's a possibility, we have to start reading top to bottom, starting with sentence number 1 right here, okay? So sentence 1, a building classified as Group E is permitted to conform with sentence 2 below, provided it is not more than 2 stories in building height. Check, our building is not more than 2 stories. And it has a building area of not more than the value in table 3.2.270. So that's this table right here. So remember how we did it with the last in example 1? We have to check the table. This table is set up exactly the same way. It has lots of columns, and the leftmost column has the number of stories. We find the one for our building. Our building has 2 stories. And then we move to the right to find the number of streets. Our building is facing 2 streets. It's this one right here. So the intersection between that row and column gives you the maximum area this building can be. It says 750 meters squared right here. Okay? That's a problem. Our building is 850 meters squared. No good. We have to keep going. Okay, so then we come up to 69, which is group E, up to 3 stories, sprinklered. No good. Our building is not sprinklered. So then we go to 68 right here. Okay, 68 is group E up to 3 stories. So that's a maybe, right? But we have to check the details inside. So we start reading sentence 1 right here. A building classified as group E is permitted to conform to sentence 2 as long as, that's what provided means, it is not more than 3 stories in building height. Good. Our building is 2 stories, so good. And B, it has a building area not more than the value in table 3.2.268. That's this table right here. So we have another table we have to check, okay? Set up exactly the same way. We're going to check first the column that has the number of stories. We find the one for our building. Our building is 2 stories. So good, we'll find that. And then we have to move to the column that has the number of streets for our building. Our building is facing 2 streets right here. So then we intersect the row and the column to get an area. This area must be larger than the area for our building. Good. Our building is 850 meters squared. The table says you can go up to 1,500 square meters. Yes, we got this. So that means that we can continue reading and we can use the requirements in sentence 2. So in sentence 2, right here, it provides the construction requirements for this building. The building referred to in sentence 1 is permitted to be of combustible construction or non-combustible construction, used singly and in combination, and Clause A contains information about the floor assembly, and Clause C contains information about the roof assembly. So under Clause A, we have that the floor assembly must have a fire resistance rating of not less than 45 minutes. And Clause C says that the roof assembly must have a fire resistance rating of not less than 45 minutes. There is an exception here, but it doesn't apply to us because that exception is for 1-story buildings. Okay, our building has more than 1 story. So that's good news because it means that we are able to find the details for this building according to the 5 ingredients we found. The ingredients here align with the contents of Article 3.2.2.68, Group E, major occupancies up to 3 stories. And what that article contains is that the building characteristics in question have to conform with sentence 2, so 3.2.2.68.2, so that that building can either be combustible or non-combustible construction, and the floor assembly of that building must have a fire resistance rating of 45 minutes according to Clause 3.2.2.68.2a, and the roof assembly must have a fire resistance rating of 45 minutes according to Clause 3.2.2.68.2c. That's it. And I say that's it easily, but that's what we did is we basically did 2 examples. Oh, hey, I know this. You know what this means. So we did 2 examples and we were able to figure out how to use those 73 articles to determine the building characteristics based on those 5 ingredients. What that means is that you're ready to do homework 2, question 1. Okay? And I want to thank you so much for your time. You followed along with me and you trusted me. The next topic is going to be topic 6, where we're going to learn more details about those 5 ingredients, the ones you took for granted right now. Follow along and we'll talk more about them.